That is the first benefit. Second benefit is the more of a stretch you could get on the target muscle, the more myofascial tension you create. By creating more myofascial tension, right now, it's a little bit early still. I only woke up about 40 minutes ago, and usually when I do squats, I like to give myself 2 to 3 hours to warm up, build up the synovial fluid in the joints. That way, everything is nice and lubricated, and I can move nice and freely throughout the range of motion. So, because I am just 40 minutes into my day, what I'm going to do is on my first couple of warm up sets, I'm going to take some really long pauses at the bottom. That's the same thing that I did last time when I was really in a crunch. And I'm probably going to just rest for about 5-10 seconds in between or at the bottom position. With regard to these exercises right over here, we're going to warm up with just the bar for 10 repetitions. Then I'm going to put on some 45s. We're going to do 8 repetitions, put on 185. We're going to do 6. We're going to do 4 repetitions with 225, and then 265 is going to be the working weight. For the working weight, we are going to do 5 sets of 10 repetitions total. But that is pretty much what I've got planned for my warm-up. I'm not going to talk through all of the warm-up sets. I'm just going to blast right through them. So I'll insert a couple of little clips. That way you guys can just see exactly what I'm doing. But I will see you guys with 135 on the bar. And for the first few repetitions of the first warm-up set, knees were feeling a little bit stiff. They started to loosen up toward the end. So I'm going to continue to do my warm-up sets with an accentuated pause at the bottom just to help. That one felt really clean and really smooth. The knees felt amazing. So I'm going to not pause quite as long now that the knees are feeling pretty good. I'll probably just end up pausing. Well, for this set, I'll pause just as long. But for the subsequent sets, I want to save my energy. So I'll just do a mini pause at the bottom and then go ahead and finish up the sets. But after this, we've got 185. Another great thing about accentuating pauses is that aside from being great for warming up the joints, they're great for promoting strength because you store a lot of elastic energy in the muscle tendon. And you could basically think of that as momentum. So when you pause, if you pause for 2 seconds, you remove roughly 50% of the elastic energy stored in the muscle tendon. If you pause for 3 seconds, you eliminate roughly 80%. And if you pause for 4 or more seconds, you virtually eliminate all of the elastic energy stored in the muscle tendon. So you're basically starting a squat from a dead position, just like you would a deadlift. So if you want to promote greater strength gains, pausing at the bottom is a great way to bust through plateaus and increase your strength as well. So we're just going to go ahead, finish up this set right over here, and then we're going to warm up with 225. And right now, the knees are feeling pretty good, so I'm not going to pause quite as long at the bottom. I'm just going to pause for a brief moment before coming up. And then after these 4 repetitions are completed, we're going to move on to the working sets. We're going to do 5 sets of 10 with 265. And now that we're on the working sets, I'm just going to briefly pause on this first repetition so I could get a really nice thumbnail, but the rest I'm going to just pretty much bang right through them. And if you would like more training tips, if you're not a member, consider becoming a member because I'm always giving out tons of tips and I've got hundreds of members or hundreds of videos in my members only section. And set number 1 of 5 has been completed. Yeah, the talking on that working set was not a great idea. I completely blasted through my energy, especially getting that pause on the thumbnail on the first one. And those last 8 repetitions were a struggle. But with regard to the rest of the workout, I'm crunched for time, as I stated. I've only got a little bit of time. I've got about 35 minutes to finish up all of my squats, change up the weight, and then get to my lunges. So I'm not going to be talking too much in between sets. If I feel like I've got something important to say, I will make note of it. But I want to discuss a little bit more about the pause. So with regard to the pause, there's a few things worth noting. Number 1, I already covered it, is the strength gains. You store elastic energy in the muscle tendon. You could think of that as the reflex, that bounce back. So like, let's say you're doing a bench press. Your muscles are stretched out, so it acts like an elastic band and helps to propel you forward. However, when you pause, you eliminate that stored elastic energy that is in the muscle tendon. So if you pause for 2 seconds and then press, you eliminate roughly 50% of that elastic energy. If you pause for 3 seconds, you eliminate roughly 80%. And if you pause for 4 or more seconds, you virtually eliminate all of the elastic energy that is stored in the muscle tendon. That is the first benefit. Second benefit is the more of a stretch you could get on the target muscle, the more myofascial tension you create. By creating more myofascial tension, we're able to recruit more muscle fibers. So if your goal is hypertrophy or functionality, taking a nice big stretch at the bottom position is going to be the best way to do that, because you take your joint through the full range of motion, so it's great for functionality, and you create the maximum amount of myofascial tension, which is great for hypertrophy. But those are just a few things worth noting with regard to pausing and why it is so effective. Now, I'm going to go ahead and finish up my last 4 working sets. After that, we're going to transition to lunges. All right, last 2 repetitions. We started strong, let's finish strong. Deep breath in, brace. And that completes all 5 sets of 10 repetitions for the high heel elevated barbell back squats. Next up, we got the forward step bar on back lunges. We're going to do all 10 repetitions on one side before moving on to the next. So we're going to do 10 on the right, 10 on the left. And for this one right over here, we're sticking to the same set and rep scheme. We have 5 sets of 10 repetitions total, and that's 10 repetitions on each leg. And we're going to put on 175 on the bar. For this one right over here, I'm not going to bother warming up because my legs are already really warm from doing all of those squats. So we're going to go right into the working weight and try and get this done within the next few minutes before my first patient comes in. But I'm going to give myself about 30 seconds to a minute to rest, and then I'll see you on set number 1. That was just a tiny taste of what can be found in my members only section. If you enjoyed it, become a member for only $5 a month to get access to hundreds of member only videos.